Hey, everybody, it is Tim Gillette, and this is the Tim Gillette Show. I'm back to you today with another great guest. Again, I only bring the coolest people on the planet. That's like the number one rule to be on the show. You got to be one of the coolest people on the planet. Today's guest is no different. This girl is not only cool, she is someone who actually is out there getting it done. You know what I mean? She's working at it. She is a leader, all right? She's all kinds of things. And some of the stuff, I don't even know about her yet. I'm going to find out because throughout some place we're going to talk about it. I seen her at an event one time and we can't figure which one because we both go to tons of events. We're both speakers. Imagine that. We go to tons of events. Hint, you should do the same. Let's bring up Holly Duckworth. How are you, Holly?
I'm great, Tim. Thanks for having me on the show. I know we're just going to have so much fun together.
You know, everything I've seen about you on social media seems that you are a fun person as well as a serious person.
Yeah, that would probably be what my friends would say about me, Tim. I work hard and I play hard for sure.
Well, that's it. I mean, and you know, those people who they usually have something set in life that, you know what I mean? They have some guidelines or they have something that drives them. You have something that drives you, or you just want to be different?
Ooh, great question. You know, you do all these personality tests. You know, you're this color, you're that star, you're all of those different things. And mine always comes back to trailblazer. No matter how many times I try, oh no, I just want to fit in the crowd. I've always been out there trying something new, rebooting my life, writing a new book, playing with technology. I was one of the early adopters of Google Glass. So, I think my philosophy is, do things that you love with people that you love and places that you love. And that saying yes to love and life has created a really great journey for me.
Wait a minute. You had a Google Glasses? I mean, do you still have them?
I don't still have them.
Do they even work anymore?
Yeah, they don't even work anymore. But in the day, it was really fun, to be on stage and wear them. But it's an outward symbol of an inward sense of inspiring people to curiosity and discovery and try something new in your life. And clearly now in 2021, after everything we've been through, this is a great time to pause, reset, and mindfully choose things that are going to bring more joy, ease, love, and, your word, we were talking about fun into your life.
Yeah, exactly. Tons of fun for me in my life, and I love what I do. I love getting out to go in that. I like that word trailblazer. I wrote, that's a writer down. That's one of the things I'm going to use to define you as a trailblazer. So let's talk about the trails that you've blazed over the years. What's one of the earliest trails that you actually blazed as a young person? Doesn't have to be business, could be personal, could be anything. But what was a trail that you went out and go, okay, and you went, this gives me exciting. I'm going to do more.
Ooh, I think there's two ways to blaze a trail. One is, you set that path and the target and you map it out and you move that way. And sometimes it's just the daily yes. Somebody puts an opportunity in front of you and you say yes to it. And one of those early opportunities for me, I had a woman who mentored me. Her name is Jackie, and she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. She said, Holly, I think you could go after your CMP. That was a certified meeting professional designation, probably an educational opportunity I wouldn't have taken advantage of, but I did. And that yes turned into another yes, which ultimately I became the volunteer president of Meeting Professionals International in the state of Oregon. And I was the youngest ever in the country to hold that title. It was such an honor to represent the industry at that time and have people on my board and my leadership team that maybe by age were older than me, but respected my insights and wanted to be a part of the movement that we were creating. So that's an early trailblazing moment that I'm really proud of the team and how that we came together. And those seeds and those professionals, I still talk to today.
Wow. And how are you helping your clients become trailblazers? There's my next good one.
Well, my work over the years has evolved and it just gets deeper and richer. Yeah. I was a meeting planner for 10 years, and then I stepped into association leadership. That's nonprofit work. Mm-hmm. And then that yes became a yes to explore the idea of mindfulness and this concept. Just like the word Amazon. Do you remember, Tim, when Amazon was a place in the jungle?
Yes,
and now it's a place where you can buy everything you ever wanted online.
I think I'm a little older than you to know that, though.
Mindfulness is kind of like that same word. It's evolved over time. For so many people, they have the thought that mindfulness is, about sitting on an ashram on a mountaintop being quiet. And mindfulness is now the neuroscience-based secular practice of being present in the moment. And in trailblazers, whether you're an entrepreneur, a mom, a corporate CEO or executive, this mindfulness skill is the most important skill. The ability to be present with yourself to help us transform ourselves in the world that we're going to be creating after the pandemic.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things you actually mentioned there was a little bit about one of the early on mentors you had. Me personally, I'm in the speaking world because I used to wash Zig Ziglar's car, and I knew Zig personally, not Zig the speaker. But I had Zig Ziglar say, "Tim, you'd be a great speaker," and Tim Gillette didn't believe him. Have you had some times that someone's like, "Holly, you should," and you're like, "Who, me?" You ever had those doubts? I'm curious.
Oh, I'm human. I like to say I'm human. I'm human first. People go, "Oh, Holly, you're so perfect. Oh, you're doing this, you're doing that." I have got a book of things that I have messed up and learned from. But those mentors that see things and you can ask a question or guide you, and that's really what I do in my private coaching practice. Is invite people to explore a deeper part of themselves. And I'm so grateful. I mentioned Jackie in the meetings industry, but there's Greg and Lowell in the association industry that helped me become an author in that area. And Michelle, and as I stepped into mindfulness and getting some of these advanced degrees in spirituality, that letting those people in and those questions in and deciding which direction you're going to go is so important as you grow yourself, however your business or your personal life shows up.
Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, when we plug into this and letting ourselves grow. Now, I personally, I've been doing this for 11 years, and my brand is nowhere near where it started at. You know what I mean? What I thought I was going to be doing 11 years ago is like centuries away from where I'm at right now. When you started your business, all right, did you think you would be where you at right now, or did you have a whole different vision planned?
Ooh.
I told you I didn't know how these questions were going to be made up. I was going to figure them out as I went along.
But I love that about your show as you send us the prep for it. Is there's no prep for it, but be yourself and be authentic. And that's the richness. Again, I think the world is inviting us to post-pandemic. We used to all be on these hamster wheels and we had to do and say all these things. Now, some of those taboo topics are becoming more mainstream: vulnerability, authenticity. So your question, I'm going to be vulnerable and authentic with and say, a lot of people don't know this about me. I grew up in a double wide trailer park, first generation high school graduate, first generation college graduate, which naturally means all the books and the blogs and the brand and the work have all been first in my family. So a lot of these things have been trial and error and finding mentors and business partners and being willing to ask the questions to grow. I wrote that one down. Let yourself grow. That's you, Tim. We're each exchanging writer downers today, but right now, especially, I think being willing to know that where you start is not where you end up. Mm-hmm. I actually started out as a meteorology major, weather forecasting.
Wow. And I can picture you as a weather girl.
Every time I go home, Dad's like, that could have been you on TV. And I'm grateful for that experience, because if you really break down that, weather forecasting on some levels is kind of the math and the science and the intuitive study of weather and how it moves. So now my work is really the art and the study and the science of how our lives move naturally with neuroscience and mindfulness and leadership practices. So everything that we do, we don't know is planting a seed for that next thing. But yeah, I never would have dreamed of those things, and yet it is that right and perfect flow.
But if had you gone into being a weather girl and a meteorologist, there's a chance that you could have ended up in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, and had to repeat the same day over and over. I'm just saying.
It's also true. and that's probably why I'm not, because I don't want to be the one. I live in Denver, Colorado, where it's actually going to snow tonight, and there's just something a little less exciting about the realities of being a weather girl.
Well, no, I've been through Denver a ton of times. I love Denver. It's one of those towns I've never spoken in. I've never flown there. I've always driven through.
Not yet, Tim. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. I've yet to fly into Denver, and I've yet to come speak in Denver. But I have a ton of friends in Denver. I mean, I literally have a ton of friends in Denver. And I've never stayed there. Well, one night, I think I stayed in a hotel there one night as I was driving through. It's a very interesting town, because one day it's snowing, and about 4 PM, the sun's out, and you're out there in your bikini. So I'm like, I don't get that town. So
yeah, absolutely.
Here in Texas, though, I'm in Dallas. We can actually have all 4 seasons in 3 hours. I'm just saying. So
the world is changing for sure.
It is. So, the world has changed quite a bit in the last year. All right. When the pandemic hit, now, just before the pandemic, I within a month before, I had been out speaking in California. I think I was in Vegas. I can't remember. It was like 5 different speaking gigs 2 months before the pandemic hit. And I had 10 more scheduled when the pandemic hit. And I came home going, my last one, they were closing California down. I'm getting on a plane hoping I can make it home. Changed my world about what I'm going to do. How did it change your world? Going, oh crap, I can't travel to speak. I can't go to conferences. What did it do to you?
I feel very fortunate that I was already adjusting the dials in my business. So I was slowly transitioning dialing down the speaking, and I was dialing up the idea of having an online community and online courses. Mm-hmm. So we continued down that road. Cool. And that's, now we're adjusting the dials again, and I'm excited to get back on the road. I have my first in-person event here in a couple of weeks, but I'm actually really grateful because even throughout the pandemic, I've been able to lead mindful meditations, corporate executive retreats, corporate trainings, entrepreneur trainings online. And candidly, Tim, I've probably been able to touch as many or more folks around the world from the power of my home studio than maybe I would have been if I'd have been dashing around on planes.
Yeah, I know. Our audience grew here in our business. We probably tripled last year in the size of our audience. And believe it or not, our income went up. And I'm shocked because people didn't see me live. All right. And it just, I think pandemics, and tell me if you agree with this, Holly, I think this pandemic, I think there was still millionaires being made in it. All right. Tell me if you agree with it or not. It's okay.
No, I absolutely agree. If you go back and you watch my videos for the first 90 days of the pandemic, every single day, I pulled out my book, Everyday Mindfulness, From Chaos to Calm in a Crazy World. And I would read from it, just like here on the live stream, every single day. And you'll hear that I never said time of pandemic. I always said it's a time of possibility, a time of possibility. And even as we reemerge, evolve, adapt to that, I think the possibilities are getting better and better for those of us who are willing to throw a couple noodles on the wall and try something different.
Now, is your state opening up to the point where you can go to big events yet or not?
Define big.
Well, last night, I went out with my coach and mentor he moved to Dallas this past year. And he actually went, and his youngest son was in a play at his high school. And we went, and we're sitting down in this, in the front row of this thing, watching this play. Half the people have masks on, half don't. But we turn around and look, and we're like, this place is 90% full, probably about a 200 seating auditorium. And this is the first time the two of us were ever in a room with that many people in a year. And him and I host large events, So I was wondering if you've gone to something like, maybe, even if it was a play.
In our community, they're kind of slicing and dicing it by county.
Okay.
And we're recording this on April 15th. The next couple of days, I think that the state is transitioning over to each county running their event. So the largest event I've been to was probably 200, but it was in a stadium that could seat 1,500. And I think that's one of the mindful practices that we can have as humans right now is giving people the grace to be wherever they are in that space. That some are going to be excited about that, some aren't. And in navigating those awkward conversations with curiosity and discovery, I'm open to meeting you in a restaurant. What feels comfortable for you? What feels comfortable for you? And being able to listen and exchange and meet each other in the middle is going to be really huge. Even with this speaking event that I have coming up in a few weeks, we had to sign COVID waivers, which is a little weird, but we talked through it. And my personal choice was I did choose to get vaccinated. That doesn't mean I'm advocating for that in any way, but each person, whatever their choice is, making those conversations as comfortable as possible in making decisions in community.
That is, you know what I mean? That you just right there show that you're a leader and you're a professional. Holly, in our world today, we have some people who've been in our industry that are not showing professionalism through this whole thing. You just proved on my podcast you are professional, number one. Number two, you stand out as a leader. And I have my applause to you for that, all right? Because you do. What you just said proves you're a leader. So thank you.
Well, I hope people activate that, just the power of asking. If we do nothing else but ask before we go out, what are the rules? I'm willing to play by whatever the rules are. I just need to understand them. We're going to open up in the way that we're supposed to open up, whether you're in Texas or Florida or Denver or Canada or Europe someday.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about New York and California.
But they're going to do what they're going to do.
You New Yorkers and Californians. Anyway, well, hey, good afternoon, Robert Brooker tuning in there today and actually gave us a little comment. So, Holly, it sounds to me like, you've always been someone who's on top of things. Has there ever been a point in time where you had to make the mistakes to then get back on top of it? Now, like I tell my kids, my youngest stepson, I told him, I said, Noah, go out and make a mistake and fix it. So have you ever gotten to the point where, like, you made a bad mistake, you're like, oh crap, I got to fix this. You can share if you want or not. I don't care what it was.
Oh, that's the good and the interesting part about not sending me the questions in advance, Tim. I mean, of course I've done mistakes and gone, how the heck did I get here? Mm-hmm. And had awesome moments. We were talking about being a trailblazer. I'll use an example. When I moved to Denver, I thought I was only staying here for 2 years. It's now 9. And one of the things I had put on my bucket list was I wanted to climb a 14er. That's a 14,000 foot tall mountain. Now, I am not an athlete. Don't even pretend to be one on TV. But if you live in Denver, you have to say that you did this thing. And I, found the right coach and guide to take me up this mountain. And what they don't tell you is the oxygen gets less and less and less and less the more you go up the mountain. And I got probably 75% of the way going, this is a total mistake. Why did I do this? But again, I had this community around me. We rallied, we worked through it. And, I did make it to the top. And then, I came back down with, God, that was a total mistake that I did it. But it was also like this growing opportunity. So I think, especially now, if you make that mistake, mask, not mask, in the right place, not at the right place, you wrote the wrong blog, you did a weird video, like laugh it off and be authentic about it, own it and move on. People will respect you more for that than trying to bury the mistake. But yeah, I'm human. I've definitely done strange, weird, bizarre, and unusual things.
Do you think you're going to stay in Denver then, or are you?
I'll be here as long as my work is here, and I'm supposed to be here. I'm grateful. This is, again, we'll see how business evolves. But I can wake up in Denver and have dinner in DC, or wake up here and have lunch in San Diego. It's a great place to be. So.
In 1998, I lived in southeastern Pennsylvania, and I took a job in Santa Rosa, California. I packed up my car and I said, I'm going to stop and visit my youngest brother who lived here in Dallas, Texas for Christmas. And then I'm going to go off to work. I still live in Dallas, Texas from visiting for Christmas. My brother, who I came here to visit, lives in New Zealand now.
Wow.
But it's funny how life just throws those opportunities out and you go, oh, wow. Okay. I'm taking this one. I like this path. I'm taking this path instead of that one. And it's unique that you sound like you're open to that. I do like being in the center of the country, as you say, for speaking. I can be in LA in 3 hours, Philly in 3 hours, Orlando in 3 hours. I love it. That is the great part about being in the center of the country and being able to go out and do that stuff. The next thing I wanted to ask you was, when you actually went there, well, where did you grow up? What town did you grow up in?
I grew up just south of Portland, Oregon.
You got out of the right place. No.
But again, we talk about places that are transforming the consciousness, the way we think, the way we act, I'm shocked at what I see when I go visit friends and family there. And it's definitely interesting. But yeah, I left the beautiful Oregon coast, which I miss so much, for the mountains. And a vacation almost always involves a beach because I miss it.
So, I mean, the one thing I didn't like, I rode my motorcycle in 2010 through Oregon. I went to Crater Lake, Oregon. Oh my God, one of the
Oh,
most beautiful things I seen on that whole trip. I do have to say that. However, I didn't like Oregon because everywhere I pulled up with the get gas in my motorcycle, which on a bike you got to get a lot. They wanted to pump the gas in my bike, and I'm like, oh no, 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 no! You aren't getting near my bike, dude. I paid $50,000 for this thing. I'll pump the gas into it.
they didn't just want to, it's the law.
I know it's the
It's,
law, and I'm
it's
like, I
against the
don't care
law to
what
pump
your
it.
law is. I ain't abiding by it. You aren't getting near my bike, dude. If I had a car, different story. Now I have a car, and I wouldn't care. Back then, like, this was my dream. I wanted this thing my whole life. And like, you aren't touching it, dude.
I get it. That first month I lived here in Denver, I literally did not know how to pump my own gas because I was like, 35 years old. I had never pumped my own gas ever in my entire life. So, we're the rules are changing now. Now I can. It doesn't mean I will.
So, I grew up, I was born in a town called Scranton, Pennsylvania. And this is going to be a unique question. You're going to love this.
Uh-oh.
And, every time I tell people I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania, they ask me if I know so-and-so from the TV show, The Office. So you live in Denver, Colorado. So do you watch Mike Baxter's blogs? You don't even know who Mike Baxter is.
I do not yet know who Mike Baxter is, but I'm guessing that he's going to probably chat us in any moment and be sure to let me know. That's the beauty and the bummer of being a thought leader in this space. And, the bummer is we don't know everybody and everything that they do. And the beauty of that is I get to meet new people all the time. I mean, I was a meeting professional for 10 years, an association professional for 10 years, and now I'm in the mindfulness space. And, I'm trying to keep up with all of them, but there's always somebody new to learn from and respect and, be respected by, because we cannot do this journey alone.
No, Mike Baxter is a character on the TV show Last Man Standing.
Well, there you go.
I don't know if you watch TV shows. My wife and I get into comedies. Like, we want to relax at the end of our day, and we want to laugh at something. So we started watching comedies, and one of them was this. I'm in a blog and vlog type environment. Yeah. We watched this TV show, and I never watched it because it was Tim Allen. I wasn't a big fan of Tim Allen, but like I want to see it, right? And I found out he used a vlog to build their business, and I'm like, oh, I like this guy, right? And and it's based out of supposedly Denver, Colorado, anyway, and that's why I said mostly when I tell people I'm from Scranton, they ask me about the TV show The Office. I'm like, dude, when I left Scranton, like the TV show The Office wasn't even a concept in someone's mind yet when I moved out of there. But I mean, comedy stuff like that. It just always something like that. My wife and I use that to inspire us. All right. It's that downtime, what we do. And we never, when we first got together, we never had a TV in our room or in our house. Now we have a house with 3 TVs into it. It's a small condo with 3 TVs into it. And because we travel and we're on the road and you get done at night. And what do you do in your hotel room? You turn TV on to waste time after you're traveling, right? And she got into one comedy, which led us to another comedy, which led us to another comedy. And that's how we are now. Do you find any of things like that to kill time and just like, let me shut the brain off?
My guilty pleasure during the pandemic was I allowed myself to watch The Bachelor for a whole season.
Chris is a nice guy. I know Chris personally.
And then I got all the way to the end of that season. And as you know, there was a lot of stuff that happened in the show. And I looked back and I went, oh my God, that's like, 48 hours of my life I'll never get back. So I'm going back to my other guilty pleasure, which is actually the Food Network. I love to bake, mindfulness, the practice of baking and cooking. My business partner and my fiance, we love cooking. We enjoy cooking. In fact, it's kind of tricky because we love our restaurants and our local restaurants and we love to support them. But right now we spent so much time at home cooking. We love making stuff and trying new recipes. The other night I was Googling ingredients. Okay, I had lemons, I had honey, and I wanted to use almond flour, unique ingredient, trailblazer again. Googled these 3 ingredients, found a recipe, made a new bundt cake with a bundt pan that I was gifted. So, it's fun for me. It's creative. It might seem a little different for other people, but our neighbors are always dreading, oh God, here comes Holly with another baked good, because I could never eat as much as I love to cook because I'd be as big around as I am tall. That's a guilty pleasure for me.
It's a TV show that my wife watches on weekends called The Kitchen on there.
Oh, it's the best. Yes.
Yeah, yes. You wouldn't believe the recipes I have to try off The Kitchen.
Did you try the chocolate croissant bread pudding?
I don't know if we've done that. She's done a chocolate puddings. When it has the word bread pudding, it's like that starts to turn me off. But I always try what she wants to do, because if I watch it be made on TV, yes, she's got to make it.
That show is absolutely crazy addicting. And yeah, they have one recently, like every chef has to have these recipes, and chocolate croissant bread pudding was on the list. I haven't made it yet, but it's on the list. The
other one was that we watched the diners, drive-ins, and dives. And when we took a road trip, I mean, we've driven back and forth to Pennsylvania a couple times before my mom moved here, and like we would do all these little places that were on the show. Like we would sit on the phone and Google them. Okay, we're going to stop here for lunch because this was on back in 2007. All right, and like we visited the stores, or the little places that Guy Fieri was at. So, that made it interesting out of that too. So, interesting things that we know about you now.
It's the power of connecting. It really is.
Yeah. So, I mean, something I always though like to ask my guests, Holly, is when I was like 19, 20 years old, I worked part-time at a gas station, and I can't tell you much about much of my life back then. However, I worked for a gentleman whose name was Frank. I remember Frank's name, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. It was a part-time job, and I had a hard time with something, and I went into Frank's office and said, I'm having a hard time dealing with this. And he gave me advice that I have taken and used in every job, every business I've ever had since then. And I was having problems running the stuff at night because the daytime guy was coming in and always getting in my way. And I said, Frank, how do I do this? And he said, Tim, at nighttime, when you clock in, you pretend like you own this gas station. If it costs $1, it's $1 out of your pocket. If you make $1, it's $1 going into your pocket. You run this gas station with that mindset, you will be successful. And I have taken ownership of everything I've done in my life because of that little advice Frank gave me. Did someone give you advice like that carries you on and drives you to this day?
In 2012, I was privileged to be named one of the top up-and-coming speakers by the National Speakers Association. I competed on the main stage. They had a little competition at that time. And what do you say to all the best speakers in the world, right? And so I told my story just like this. And it was a story that dated back to when I was in 6th grade. And my dad was a machinist at Freightliner. So he, made the big trucks that went down the truck parts. And so,
I've probably driven one or two.
Yeah, connecting to his daughter was a unique sometimes conversation. And yet we had science fairs, we had science projects. And that particular year was the year you had to do the catapult, the thing that launches the golf ball, 6 feet, but not 8 feet, that kind of thing. And during that project, we're calibrating it so it'll only go so far and not so far. And we're into it. And I will never forget, he said to me, Holly, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And I know that this quote symbolically is credited to a lot of different people. But for me, that moment of being with this man who did this job his whole career, his whole life building truck parts, and ultimately his job was sent to Mexico, and he's long since retired. But that moment was so transformational to me that I'm so passionate about mindfulness and teaching people about being present and creating careers that they love, with people they love and places they love as a result of that experience. So absolutely, we never know when we're going to touch somebody, but that moment, I've had the privilege of sharing it with the members of the National Speakers Association. And even today, from time to time, I'll be at a convention and somebody say, did you do that story? Yeah, I did.
And it's funny, as a speaker, I mean, we tell stories and we tell them from what we've lived, and most people don't understand that. It's most of us are telling the stories of something we lived through. And I tell one about, because I teach online with blogs and videos, and I tell one about walking through the mall and having the guy come out from a kiosk stand and squirt lotion on my hands, and I refer it to traffic. You know what I mean? But we tell those stories, and most people are thinking like, does this really happen in your crazy world? Does it really happen in your crazy world? Some of these stories. Let's be honest, Holly. Tell us yours.
Oh my gosh! Recently, as part of the pandemic, we're all being called or asked to do something that utilizes our skills that maybe we never thought we would do. And I'm a licensed spiritual practitioner, so as a part of that work, I get the privilege of being with families at a time of a memorial. And recently was asked to do a virtual online memorial, much like this. Mm-hmm. Seems like an easy thing to do, right? But this one was never live. It was just all these recorded bits that were going to be shown as a broadcast. I must have recorded that opening prayer 47 times, because one time the audio, we couldn't hear me. One time the lighting wasn't right. One time the scarf wasn't right, or the necklace wasn't right. I mean, all these people, people think, oh, these live streams are just so easy to do. And there's a million little details that one of them you mess up in the domino effect. And yeah, that one, I'm grateful I had the honor of doing it, but man, I was about ready to pull my hair out, praying. And I just like your show here, I don't script a prayer, I'm loving on the family. So every time the words were different. Eventually we did get the audio and everything right. But sometimes we have to fail our way to success, even in those impromptu moments. And that's why I love that your show's so impromptu, because life really is impromptu.
Yeah. Well, that being said, all right, let me ask you this. We can't know everybody that's going to listen to this, both the recording or who's watching live. But in your heart, you've got like that spiritual sense. What's a word of advice you'd want to give to the audience today? And you may have a sense of what you need to say. I don't.
Oh, Tim, I love this question because
it relies on your intuitiveness.
but there's an honoring there of a skill that not everybody maybe understands or appreciates. And I do always think that the right person lands in the right seat at the right time, listening however that they are. And, I think today's word really of inspiration is that listening. And it starts with us listening to ourselves, and then, listening to those people around us, because just like, the caterpillar goes in and becomes the cocoon, and then comes out the butterfly. We've all gone through our cocoon phase, and now we get to choose what color the butterfly is and how does that look. And we can only do that from taking the time out to ask that questions. What's the highest and best for me? What do I want to be? What's it look like? What's it feel like? What's it sound like? And I mean, that's a bunch of questions, but really my advice for the listeners, whenever they're listening to this, is just take those few moments out and ask yourself, what's the highest and best for you, and listen to what shows up. And it may show up as a song or a bird, or it may show up as a visual or an image. You can't do mindfulness wrong. Yeah. And you are the best expert on you right now, as we're all recreating personally and professionally.
Yeah. And that is great advice. And personally, people ask me all the time and try to tell me about, meditation. And I'd love to explain my meditation practice before the pandemic. It's not working right now, but I used to go to Starbucks in the morning. I used to get my cup of coffee, and I used to no phone, no computer. And I would sit there and lean against the wall and just stare and let my mind think through what I'm going through. And every now and then, oh, hi, Joe. That was my meditation, because that's the place my mind would open up. And most people will go, well, you've got to be sitting in certain stance to meditate. I'm like, no, dude, mindfulness it's what's going on around you. That's it, man. Sometimes you just need to tune into the mind. So I love that.
Well, you said something there that I would invite you and your listeners think that you said. I would let my mind think through, which is a great first step. But now we also have the invitation to say, let your heart feel it through. Yeah. And we live in such a head society that I think the more we can continue that invitation of what's our heart really want, the more we're going to be able to connect to ourselves and to each other. I'm kind of laughing because I told you I had the book Everyday Mindfulness, and it's a mindful meditation every day. And if we're going based off the book today, the affirmation, Tim, is I am abundant.
Mm.
The world is plentiful when you choose to see it that way. Abundance is the truth of our world. Prosperity is how you allowed abundance to flow through your life. So today, let's place our attention on an abundant life and all of the opportunities you have, and live from that awareness. And clearly, there's a lot of associations. Often April 15th is tax day, not in 2021, but what's the story you're telling about yourself, about your own abundance? Maybe that's the question you ask yourself. How am I abundant today? How am I grateful today? And use that to move yourself forward.
Cool. Wow. Well, it's been great having you on the show. I gotta tell everybody, how did they get a hold of you? Where's the best thing that they can reach, best website and everything they can reach you at?
Well, I feel fortunate. My name is easy, hollyduckworth.com, HOLLY, and then duck like quack, quack, and worth like money, hollyduckworth.com. And I've placed some free downloads there. I've got my 7 practices to be a mindful sales professional and mindful leader there for you to download. And, I'm never more than an email away. If this has sparked an interest in you, a question or an idea, feel free to drop me a line in an email, and maybe we'll make it content on a future vlog or blog.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I do appreciate you coming by. Before we close out, though, I have a little game that I like to play with my guests called This or That.
I'm so excited, Tim, because it's always been my dream to be on like the Jimmy Kimmel show or on on the Tonight Show, and they have these games. So here's my chance.
Yeah, I learned mine from Sammy Hagar.
To do one of these games. So let's do it.
Okay, number 1. All right, 9 questions. Number 1 is Star Wars or Star Trek?
I don't get none of the above.
Oh, wow. Oh.
You found my Achilles heel, pop culture.
Not into real
pop culture is my Achilles heel.
Okay, well, let's move on past that then. Okay, especially with the pandemic, are you a dress-up girl, or are you somebody who's wearing yoga pants and you're dressed up from the top up?
Hair and makeup every single day. It's just part of being able to serve the world. As you can see, I've even got my suit and my earrings on today.
Cool. Well, number 3, and I emphasize it's number 3 as you answer this question, because I picked something off your website. Who was the better NASCAR driver, Dale Earnhardt or Richard Petty? Again, this is question number 3.
God, it was on my website. I'm going with Dale Earnhardt. Did I get it? Did I get my own answer right?
Actually, you had on your website that you actually did a NASCAR driving experience.
I know what you're referencing. Yeah. Yes, I had the opportunity.
But Dale Earnhardt was I'm a Dale Earnhardt fan. Again,
100.
It's lower. I have my thing up, but down here I have 2 Dale Earnhardt cars, and his number was 3, and it's my favorite number, by the way.
Have you driven? Have you done the NASCAR experience?
No, I have not driven. I did drive my motorcycle on Texas Motor Speedway, but they won't. I have epilepsy, and I've tried twice to do the track. I can go ride in one, but they won't let me drive one. So
okay, well let's meet at a NASCAR race sometime.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah. So
what's number 4?
Huh? Number 4. Let's move on. Hamburger or taco?
Ooh, I'm going hamburger.
Oh, I love it. Hamburger. Hamburger's making a comeback. The next one here, all right, can be a little tricky because you may not be into these, but beer or wine?
Oh, wine all the way.
Red or white?
Yes. I don't discriminate.
All right. So we've gotten to a world of people now, all right, who can listen to their books or listen to podcasts. Are you someone who likes to read a book or listen to a podcast?
I'm trying to train myself to do more audiobooks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not good at audio. I want to read words. I don't know why, but it's a training. I do listen to podcasts, but I want to read my books. I want to pull.
My clients actually and some friends often fight for the books after I've read them because they want to see the notes that I've written and the doodle. They get a little insight into what I was thinking as I read the book. Here's a tip for you, Tim, too. I always put the year that I read the book in a different color pen. So if I read it in 2012, it might be blue and all the underlines are blue. And then like 2015, if I read it again, I do it in like pink. So I can see what the different points are and how it transitions over the years, how I resonate with a book.
Interesting fact about me and books is I'm a Christian and I have a Bible with me, right? And, before we were all digital, I have a physical Bible with me. It was in my car, and my car was stolen. The Bible wasn't in the car at the time. It was actually at home, but I thought it was in the car. And that night, as like I had to go to a party that day after, and I'm riding home with the guy who would eventually give me a place to crash on his couch when I was homeless. And I'm in the car, and I don't remember saying this, but he reminded me, and he said, Tim, the greatest thing I thought about you was what you said is I hope the guy who stole my car finds my Bible, reads the stuff I outlined and underlined, and I meet him in heaven someday. I don't remember saying that, but
again, a moment that touches somebody. Yeah, what a gift.
That's it. You're doing the same thing. People are getting your books. You're touching people by your healing. So how about this one here? Are you a boots girl or a heels girl?
Yes. This post-pandemic, though, I don't know. I'm kind of liking this flat boot thing. I put my cowboy boots on last night for the first time in ages, man. I'm ready. Yeah. I'm ready to put mine back on.
My last two are the controversial ones.
I know you drum roll.
Yeah, here we go. Next one. Toilet paper, over on the roll or under at your house?
Oh, definitely over.
Okay. No story behind that, just
no story other than, always have to make sure there's extras in the house. We're not hoarders, but we definitely
I actually have had people on this program that have been the calmest, and I asked that question and fangs come out, and they go over, and the fangs come out, and I'm like, dude, I thought you were like this calm, peaceful person. My last one, yes, I still ask it to the ladies, all right, but boxers or briefs?
Oh,
this doesn't mean you wear them. It could be what you like to see. All right. It's just, you pick one or the other.
You're like reading the thought bubble off my head, Tim. I can see it. Definitely I would say briefs. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. See, the quiz wasn't that hard.
Oh, well, I'm so grateful. Now I don't have to go on,
You don't have to go on Jay Leno. You've been on my show.
I have been on the Tim Gillette show, and I got to do the 9 this or that game. Yeah. Cool. Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. I hope we've served the listeners with this, and I hope we can have the opportunity to maybe have you on my show and keep doing these conversations.
We've got to do more together. I appreciate you being on the show and taking time out of your busy day today to be on our podcast. So I do appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Yep. So to the listener, I want to say thank you for listening. Go to hollyduckworth.com. Check this girl out. Go get her free downloads, all right? This is a mindful person who can help you, and as you know from today's show, she's a leader. I'm Tim Gillette with The Tim Gillette Show. Please subscribe to our podcast wherever you get them, as well as our YouTube channel. I'll be back with another great guest real soon. Until then, have a great day, guys. Bye now.